And I'm your anime analrapist, Curtis.
This week on the podcast, we watched episodes 13, 14, and 15 of Revolutionary Girl Utena, and we're going to talk about that right now. But first, last time on Keep Your Friends Close and Your Animes Closer. Robert, do you have any follow-up?
Yeah, I mentioned that to copyright all of your anime ideas, we should put them on a USB and post it to ourselves.
Yeah.
That's known as the poor man's copyright, apparently. And the idea is that once you've posted it to something, then you've got the government, like a government official date, because they have to date the stamp.
Yeah.
And so you've got a date as to like when the thing was created. But what I don't understand about that is, like, surely you put things in an envelope before you mail it, right? So the idea is, like, if you finish your manuscript, you finish your draft for a movie, you post it to yourself, and then the government have stamped it with a date, and then you're like, look, I created this work, and it's got a government official date on it, so it must have been my work. Which doesn't actually work, by the way. The copyright department were like, that doesn't hold weight in court at all.
That's flawed.
That doesn't work.
Right.
But yeah, it's flawed anyway in my mind, because like you put things in an envelope. Do you have to just post it with a stamp on it or something? And like without it, it doesn't make sense to me. So anyway, don't try that. It doesn't actually work.
True, because they're signing the envelope, not the thing inside the envelope.
They don't open up your letter to stamp every page of your manuscript.
I heard that to copyright things, you just had to upload it online somewhere.
Well, I heard to copyright things, you have to just get a duck to sit on it, and then it works.
On a full moon.
Like, nobody knows how the law works.
Nobody.
Yes.
We're all
We need
guessing.
a lawyer.
Well, lawyers don't know how the law works. They're just the best at lying about it.
They're just good about, hey, in this particular case, the judge said that this is how the law
They just
works.
have insane memory about how every single case went down. They were like, listen, this one judge one time did this thing.
Yeah, and that's why the
There's a
judges are
precedent
like,
for it.
oh,
It's like
okay,
catching
there's
judges
precedent.
out. It's like, you can't do that. Another judge did
that.
it this way. So
And then he goes,
if you did that, what would that say about the law? Oh, you got me.
the judge
okay.
goes, right, no, you got me this time. And the judge works to have like the law repealed,
Yeah,
but they don't
right.
actually do anything. They don't even write it down or anything. They just like go through this arbitration process, which think about where the word arbitration is. Just arbitrary.
Yeah,
Exactly.
arbitrary
So they just
arbitration.
make up a bunch of shit, and then they go, "We changed the law, guys. Trust us."
Trust us.
When was the last time you read a law book?
Never.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the cops still come in and they arrest me for watching anime, and I'm like, well, I mean,
Do you think
I guess you're right, because I don't know.
Do you think when they make a new law, they have to put it in an envelope and post it to themselves?
I reckon.
To make
That's
that
where it
law?
came from.
Yeah.
This guy was like, what are you doing? Is it patenting something?
Patenting a law.
That all made sense.
Yep. Your follow-up, Joel.
I don't have any follow-up. I feel like it probably should be, but we're just going to roll right on past it.
Alright.
And into Revolutionary Girl Utena, abridged.
Duel 13 title.
Tracing a path?
So this is a filler episode, / a recap episode, / a clip show, maybe? So we open, as most filler episodes do, with a few minutes of just her backstory, again, given to us about the prince and everything. And then when we finally get into it, Kiryu is in his room moping, listening to his old council meetings over and over again, and Nanami can't console him. One lilac-haired, red-coated, dark-skinned, pointy-chinned man, potentially the prince. He walks into the dueling arena and he looks up at the castle and he chuckles, and then he seemingly gets sucked up into the castle, or that's how the camera sort of insinuates anyway. And then there's another lilac-haired, dark-skinned man, this time in a white robe, and he's sitting on a large ball in a shaft of light, his face covered by his knee, and he speaks to the first guy, and we see a red hourglass run out and a red stained glass window. He says, "You still haven't awakened?" And then he talks about all of the duels that we've seen and how Utena has won them all up to this point, and how you begin to have hope for Utena, huh? The glass changes to green and he talks about Saionji's fight, and then we watch the Saionji's fight. At the end of that, the green hourglass runs out, and then we watch the second fight again, and then the hourglass runs out again, and we watch Mickey's fight, and then the blue sand runs out, and the same for the duel.
This happens 7 times.
Yeah, same with the orange sand. And then we watch the Nanami fight, but we don't see the yellow sand run out, and I don't know if that was important or not. Maybe.
True.
Nanami's fight, and then we also don't see Kiryu's fights. It stops after Nanami, which I didn't know if it was just a case of saving time or whether it was symbolic, but whatever. The two lilac-haired guys talk about Utena again, eventually reaching the duel named Revolution, because each of the duels to this point had had a specific name.
Should I name them all for you?
I was going to ask you if you knew how to do that without looking at your notes. Do you remember what they were called?
Not without looking at my notes. I wrote them down.
Do you remember any of them?
No.
No idea. Alright, so I did write them down, but you want to read them out, Joel?
Sure. The first one, so this is the first fight versus Saionji, was called Friendship. Second fight versus Saionji was Choice. Third fight versus Miki was Reason. Fourth fight versus Juri was Love. Fifth fight versus Nanami was Adoration. Sixth fight versus Kiryu or Toga was Conviction. And seventh fight versus Toga was Self.
So what do they mean? And what does it mean to finally reach the duel named Revolution?
And what number is that?
And how many away is it? Yeah. He says, the day you will be completely released may be near. We assume he's talking to the prince or something, or the end of the world maybe, or I don't know. Cut to Anthe returning to her dorm room, ignoring Utena when she asks where she's been, and instead commenting on how quickly the clouds are moving tonight. Duel 14, title.
The Boys of the Black Rose.
We open on a strange item. So picture a glass cot or a crib or a cradle. It's got like a diffused blue light instead of a mattress and a red metal frame around it. And in the centre of it grows a black rose. Two strangers are standing around it talking. Each dressed in a sort of military kind of a way with shoulder pauldrons and sort of formal dress.
A Japanese school uniform.
Oh, okay. Just very, very formal looking.
Yeah.
Each of them have unnaturally coloured hair, which indicates to me that they're important characters. And then water drips into the crib and you realise that it's all sort of a light blue, shining water. We hear that the black rose apparently absorbs darkness itself. Which, science corner, I haven't done one of these in a while. Darkness is the absence of electromagnetic waves in the visible spectrum. So it's nonsense to say that you would absorb it. There's nothing to... never mind. So, one of them names the other one Soji. Would I be saying that right? Suji. He's the one in blue with a bob cut. And the other one has Anthe's skin and hair and forehead spot. And we don't learn his name yet. They both disappear. Utena arrives home to find Anthe missing. Come to think of it, where does she go every Saturday night? She comes home at that point and says, I visit my brother every week. And she goes, what, you have a brother? They visit her brother's place, the chairman, or the acting chairman at least. He's got a massive, ginormous telescope, humongous thing, and he loves the stars and watching stars and things. We learn his name is Akio Otori, and it's the name of the lilac guy in red from the last episode. He's one of the two guys. He's acting chairman, and he is really obsessed with the stars. He's also engaged to be married to the actual chairman's daughter, Kane.
Also, we'll just point this out now. It's interesting. Anthe Himemiya and... Sorry, what's his first name again?
Akio.
Anthe Himemiya and Akio Otori
have different last names.
Have different last names, but Otori is Kane's last name.
Yeah.
So they already share a last name, even though they aren't married yet, and they have insinuated that he's been adopted by the chairman.
Yeah. I had lots of questions about that. We'll get back to that stuff. Soji Bobcut sits at his PC while two randoms are thanking him for help with something. And they try to offer him a reward as a thank you, and he doesn't accept it, preferring instead to keep a favour owed. They leave, talking about how he belongs to the Mikaji Seminar, aka the Circle of the Black Rose, and how he's a super genius. Miki arrives to thank Soji for the offer to join the Black Rose, but instead he declines, saying, I don't think I'm smart enough to warrant being in your Mensa group. Anthe thanks Utena for not telling her brother while they were there about her secret as the Rose Bride, which indicates that she doesn't know about his secret either, being one of the ones who's orchestrating it by the sounds of it. They bump into Miki coming out of the memorial hall, who tells them that once there were 100 boys buried alive in the bottom of this memorial hall, which we're only just learning about now. Soji is talking to that guy who's kind of Anthy but not Anthy, whose name is Mamiya.
He refers to her with feminine pronouns.
Yeah.
And
he says, I'm going to make you the Rose Bride. And Mamiya says, don't you mean Rose Groom? I am a boy. And he goes, nah, Rose Bride fits you better.
He does have a female voice actress.
Yeah, he does have a female voice actress, which isn't like...
It's not like Mickey has a female voice actor as well. It's just...
yeah, interesting. He says that we will gain the power of DIOS and all of this, blah, blah, blah. And the end of the world is recognizing our potential. But for our plan to work, we need to claim Anthy in the duel and then kill her. Kane makes her way into the memorial hall and says she's got an appointment with him. This super genius, what's his face? Soji. She gets into a sort of a weird lift/elevator, and she sits on a stool in the middle of this elevator talking through like a one-way mirror to an unseen force about how she loves Akio, her adopted brother and Anthy's brother, but she just can't bring herself to like Anthy. Behind her on the wall is a butterfly in a frame, and as she's going down and down and down in this elevator, it's regressing. It's going to a caterpillar, it's going into a cocoon, and then into a caterpillar, and then into an egg on a leaf. And then on Tuesday it eats through 2 apples, and then on Wednesday it eats... So when she gets to the bottom of the lift, she enters the resting place of those 100 boys, and she sees the 100 pairs of shoes around the place, and there's like 100 drawers, like in a morgue. And this super genius fella says, hey, this is where they all died, come look at this. And he pulls out one of the bodies, and he takes its occupant's rose seal ring, and it's turned black, as happened when a ring bearer dies, apparently. She's kind of creeped out by this, understandably, and she tries to leave, but then not Anthy stabs her in the heart with his black rose, and she puts the ring on. Utena finds a challenge in her locker, so she goes to the arena. Utena is surprised to find dozens of tables set up in 10 rows of 10, with white lilies on each of them, and red chalk bodies on the ground, just spread amongst the entire arena. Kane is there, and she's not being herself. She's wearing the black rose, and she's got the black ring on, and she's very much sort of zombified, almost. She challenges Utena, and she loses. Her ring disintegrates, and she falls into one of these red outlines. Back underground, the corpse drawer that her ring came from is ejected into an enormous underground furnace. I don't know what's going on.
Soji's just like, should have expected this.
Yeah, and I'm like, at this stage I'm going, holy shit, does that mean there'll be 99 more fights between her and the...
There's only 39 episodes total,
yeah,
so...
but it doesn't mean that it won't be that, because it could be that the next episodes are just like them jumping over, like, oh, and then she's fought 12 more, and now she's fought another...
Maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, Anthy heads out to see her brother, but not before saying that Kane remembers nothing of what's happened. So as soon as the black rose gets stabbed into you, you become sort of this force for these underground circle of the black rose. Akio is lounging on the couch in a sexy way, and he beckons Anthy to him in a sultry voice. He asks if she's missed him in this last week, and she carefully sets down her glasses and says, "Yes, big brother." And then I'm left wondering if I'm actually watching Game of Thrones again. Gross. Duel 15, title.
The world seen from Kazui?
Mickey is wandering through his campus, and he sees his sister flirting with a guy. She sees him see her, and she increases her flirtation, knowing that it gets to him, and he ignores her. But then he runs into a paedophile music teacher, and she sees him smiling, and she doesn't like it. Cut to Nanami. She's trying to get Kiryu's spirits back, and still no avail, so she takes on his responsibilities as the council president. Not Anthy and Soji are talking over the glass crib again, and there's a new black rose in it. They're talking about swords of the heart, and how you can draw the sword from the heart if you have a hold on their heart. Lots of symbology, I guess, and sort of metaphors that turn out to be like actual fact and not metaphors. I don't know. Mickey arrives to ask out Anthy, and it's very cute. He's very awkward about it. He doesn't know how to ask her out. Eventually he asks her to play with him and says, "Oh, my music teacher will be really proud of how well you can play." And then we cut to the music teacher running away from school scared after apparently being pushed down the stairs and threatened by Kozue. She tells... Kozue, for those who don't know, that's Mickey's twin sister. She tells Juri that, I pushed him down the stairs and I threatened his life and everything because I'd do it to defend Mickey. I can't stand anybody who would hurt him. She's standing in the music room hall watching him play, and that's when she sort of looks across at Anthe and asks Utena who's that girl and why is he so interested in her. A council meeting. Nanami's leading it and nobody's objecting to it, and that's the entire purpose of that council meeting.
Nanami is leading the council meetings because ever since Toga lost the second fight with Utena, he hasn't been coming to school. Right. And so she is trying to keep the council running while he's moping. It
did seem odd to me that one of the existing council members didn't step up to fill the roles, and instead they just let this outsider in to not only join the council but also become the president of it.
Don't know.
Yeah. Akio asks Utena about a guy who likes Anthe, and then she asks what it's like to have a sibling, and he says it's like the moon. So it serves no purpose, and you sometimes forget that it's there, but it's kind of comforting when you remember it. And I guess also you get to fuck it once a week. Gross. Speaking of incest, Mickey is waiting for Anthe in the music room, and he falls asleep while he's waiting. So Kozue comes up to him and starts creeping on him, touching his hair, and bends down to kiss him and stuff. And then Anthe walks in at that point, and she's like, "Oh, did you see that?" She disappears off to that creepy Vader down to the morgue room. And she gets a black rose and a ring. Mickey enters the music room to find her playing his song, and she stops and tries to kiss him and fondle him. He rejects her, but she shows him her flower, and he bends over backwards. And then a sword bursts out of his chest. What the fuck? Mickey sword. What? The exam timetables have been announced, and next to them is another challenge to what's-her-face, Utena. She sees this challenge, so she goes to the arena to find the desks are all laid out again, but this time instead of flowers, there's jugs of milkshake on each one.
Which has been important because apparently they used to drink. Kozue and Mickey used to drink milkshakes together.
Yeah, that was kind of set up earlier in the episode, and I suppose there's some symbology to that. She challenges her. Anthe strokes Utena's long hard sword, and Utena takes her prince inside of her. And then she wins, same as the last fight. The desks slam to the side, same as the last fight, and Kozue falls onto her body outline, and her ring disappears, all same as the last fight.
And the thing gets ejected, the morgue body gets ejected into the big furnace.
The big furnace again.
And Soji's like, gee whiskers, should have figured that one out. There's more student council members though.
Only 98 to go. Mickey is tucking up his sister into bed and tending to her. She doesn't have a clue what happened. He goes to get her a milkshake. And then back to Akio seducing Anthe again. And he says, I will comfort you, sister. And she goes, choo choo. Which is really fucking creepy and gross. And what the fuck is with all of the incest all of a sudden?
It was double creepy because Mickey's this guy who's genuinely interested in dating her. Yeah. And he brought that up earlier, and it's kind of like she's making fun of him behind his back, while fucking her brother.
It's so fucked up. So why all of the incest?
So one of my big notes for these 3 episodes combined is just everybody fucks.
Yeah.
yeah. So let's lay out.
Except for Utena.
Yeah,
Utena's not interested.
So we've established that these guys are all under 18.
No,
a lot of them are all under 15.
I don't think that Anthe's brother is under
Akio
18.
probably isn't. Which makes it even weirder because Anthe's 14.
Yeah.
So not only is he fucking his sister, presumably. We don't know.
Well, I reckon it's a bluff for this one because it's incest siblings. I gotcha.
That's the twist.
We've cut ahead, but that's one under my predictions for the upcoming is that they've so heavily insinuated it with the Akio Anthe thing that it's going to be a red herring. They're turning off the lights to actually just look at the stars and stuff.
Yeah.
But that doesn't excuse it because he's still lounging in a very sexy way and talking to her in a very sultry voice, and it's kind of still gross and creepy, even if they're not actually fucking.
They do it could be left to interpretation. But like the implication is very strong.
Yeah. All right, so let's go back to episode 13. What are we thinking about that?
Was a kind of educational recap episode. Everybody hates recap episodes, but at least we kind of learned new content, and it wasn't just remember the time that you did this.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly a clip show because there was still some I don't know, some story to it. You at least saw two guys that were behind the scenes and go, ooh, that's exciting.
Set up all these questions. At the end, I wrote down some of like the images that were showing.
Yeah.
So they were like the moon, clouds moving quick, the rose and water, the butterfly, aliens.
I guess
aliens.
Aliens into
aliens were in episode 12 with the skit with the two shadow people.
Shadows. Yeah, I don't get that.
The silhouette girls are aliens.
Nah, I think that they're just doing a skit that is supposed to be something that's emblematic of what's happening. Okay. I don't think that they are actually aliens, and I think that maybe aliens are just representative of something that's like a higher power. I
don't know. They're the shadow people. Some of their metaphors and their similes are really hard to understand and how they tie in, and some of them are really over your head, a beat over your head obvious. But yeah, quite often in the last few episodes, I've sort of watched those shadow bits and gone, what is that about? How is it tying in? Is it something that's leading up to something that we've not seen yet, and that's why it's not understandable?
I do definitely. Well, I think that it's kind of obvious that if you go back and rewatch the show, knowing what happens at the end, it's probably like, right,
yeah, probably.
Got it. I see what's happening here. I don't know. The shadow people are strange, and we kind of didn't learn that much in episode 13.
It just set up more questions than anything, because we were like, all right, we've got two guys that are behind the scenes, that've been watching the whole thing.
Do you know what? Oh no, that's a prediction. Never mind. I'll take it back.
And all of the duels have been named, so they're obviously like serving a purpose. Did you see what the names like had relevance to? Did you like read into the names at all?
Well, okay, so let's do that step by step. So number one was friendship.
So that one's obvious to me. Utena
becoming friends with Anthe.
No, I was going to say Utena challenged Sayonji to that first duel for the sake of friendship. She was doing it for her friend Wakaba.
True.
She was defending her honor. So it was a friendship thing that started the duel. The duel wasn't made because of friendship. Yeah. And then the second one, choice. That was a little bit harder for me to put my finger on.
I got it. It's because she was going to throw the fight, and then she chose not to throw the fight, and that was her making the conscious decision to be involved with the duels and continue forward with Anthe.
Yeah, that's what I put it down to as well. But I was for the other ones, I kind of felt that the word, the title of each duel was sort of the reason for the duel.
Yeah.
And the choice kind of happened halfway through the duel and wasn't like the instigating factor.
True.
So I was trying to put it into like what was the choice that Sayonji made when he chose to challenge Utena, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that one's probably the hardest. But I think the other ones are all pretty obvious, but we'll go through them. 3 being reason. Curtis, do you know?
No.
So it was Mickey say he was like logical and reasoning, saying he sort of you actually saw him make formulate the idea to challenge Utena to a duel when he was watching her play, going, she plays really well. She does anything that her groom tells her to.
Her being Anthe.
Yeah. She plays really well. If she does anything that her groom tells her to, if her groom never tells her to stop playing, she will stop playing. I can't deal with that. Therefore, logically, reasonably,
I have to fight.
And so it's a reason for the fight.
4 being love with Jury. This is because I know that Jury's whole thing was that she wanted to fight to prove that miracles can't happen, but the real basis behind that was because she loved somebody who didn't love her back, and she was almost jealous of the relationship that was going on between Anthe and Utena. I know that Utena has still not admitted that she wants to bone down with Anthe, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
And also, even at the end of it, Jury still loves the person, even though they betrayed her and totally wrecked her shot. 5, adoration.
That one's obvious.
Yeah.
that one's obvious. Like, Nanami challenged Utena purely out of adoration for her brother. She's like, we're gonna fight because
I want fuck.
I want his sword in
you are blocking me so hard right now. It's ridiculous. 6 being conviction. Is this because Toga's put off fighting because he wanted to prepare, and now he's entering it with the conviction of course I can win?
Yeah, I felt like that was what that one was about. He now has the conviction that he can win, having watched her fight all the others.
And 7 being self.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. That one was throwing me a bit.
Because it's not like the Scott Pilgrim thing where Scott Pilgrim shows up at the end and they're like, "Oh, you're here for the girl?" He's like, "No, I'm here for me." And then he earns the power of self-respect. So...
Yeah, I don't know. Have you got any insight about that self? What that would mean with that?
The second fight with Toga.
Trying to remember the episode. So she isn't it just her choosing to fight?
It's the first time that she's lost a fight. She loses to Toga, and then the next day she says, "I've got to get Anthe back."
Do you know what it is? I think it's self-sacrifice, because she's doing it, putting herself on the line for Anthe, like putting I don't know how to articulate it. You know what I mean? Like throwing herself in harm's way, regardless of what will happen, and that's kind of what wins the fight as well. Because
no, you're wrong.
No, that's a bullshit opinion.
Your opinion's wrong. I just remembered what happens in that episode. She is being really mopey about having lost the fight, and that's when we get that whole slapfest between her and Wakaba. And Wakaba's eventually, when she goes to apologise to Wakaba goes, "I just want you to be yourself again," sort of thing. You're not you. It's not like you to be wearing girls' clothes.
Yeah,
that's right.
And
she says to Wakaba when she kind of snaps out of it and says, "You know what? I'm going to get myself back. I'm going to go fight for myself." And it is, I think the Anthe at that point, the fact that she's going to save Anthe comes as like a secondary thing to Utena. I think Utena is like realizes that I need to fight for my own sake at this stage. I'm so heavily into this that I can't have lost to him.
She does spend like a lot of the earlier episodes not liking Anthe or not quite like embracing her.
I think she likes her, but doesn't like the fact that she's sort of doting on her and says, "Look, I don't care that you think that you're my wife now, and that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
just be yourself." And then after a little while, she goes, "Well, kind of like it."
Actually, lunchboxes aren't so bad.
Yeah,
Choo Choo's pretty cool.
So yeah, I think the self is actually that Utena fights Toga that last time to regain her sense of self, and with it comes Anthe.
I think it's about fucking time we speculate on what in the fuck DIOS is.
Yeah, power of DIOS.
They keep harping on about this power of DIOS that you get when the prince comes inside you, and I mean the sword.
It's so childish. It gets me every time.
Because the two things that DIOS powers are the prince and the glowing red sword.
Yeah.
Do you think that DIOS is a person or a concept or a magical
I've thought
thing?
It was a person this whole time.
Do you reckon that the prince's name is DIOS?
Yeah, I think so. That's what I've been thinking. I've been thinking the power of DIOS is the prince and he lives in the castle, and he's completely separate to End of the World.
During that episode, they mention the seal on the power of DIOS is beginning to break.
Yeah, but at the same time that she's like, "Oh, the power of DIOS," and I'm pretty sure that's maybe it's that once it breaks, everybody gets DIOS power. And that's when the world revolutions.
Did you guys...
That's a very smug face you're putting right now.
I've cracked it.
That's it. World revolution comes from everybody having the power of DIOS.
The globe sort of thing that the prince was sitting on, it was kind of like eggshell.
What?
I don't know. That's the power of DIOS.
You thought that this was about lesbians, but it was me, DIOS, all along. And he's in the egg.
I have no idea. I've got no idea. But like,
do you reckon that the prince is sitting on the egg to keep it warm?
He's incubating.
It could be.
The egg of DIOS.
No, but like, I don't know. Like, there's like a lot of they're showing a lot of symbols. They're talking about breaking eggs to save the world, to revolutionize the world. I just thought that was an interesting sort of illustration of this thing, and I don't know if that's related, but to me it looks eggshellish, like an eggshell world.
Yeah.
That the prince was sitting on.
You're a science man. Isn't the world shaped like an egg in real life? It's an obloid.
It's an oblate spheroid.
Which is what an egg is.
That's because it's spinning.
No, a chicken egg's not. It's not shaped like that. But there are reptiles that lay almost spherical eggs. So yeah, I guess you could say it's like a turtle.
Right. So lizard people are behind it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The reptilians are coming.
The world is on the back of a turtle. The tail's all the way down. With the power of DIOS, Anthe at one stage, she doesn't suck on the phallus this time, but she does run her fingers along it, right? Mm. And we see like some red sparks. Was that meant to be like blood? Was she cutting her fingers on the... Because it looked like blood magic. She sort of leans back. Utena gets her sword out, and
I feel like it's like a PG version of
showing blood.
Yeah.
But I was expecting the sword to glow red at that point, like Anthe
but it didn't
before, but it didn't. Yeah. Nothing. There was no like visible power to the sword when Anthe touched it. What do we reckon that's going to be like answered? Do you reckon that's just?
I hope something gets answered. There's a lot of questions.
I've just added a bunch of shit into this. I've just added a bunch of questions, but they did confirm that Toga and stuff isn't the prince, and that there's this new guy who's walking in with the red jacket. Did he have a name?
Anthe's brother.
Oh, was that Anthe's brother in the...
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay, well...
In the clip show... in the clip show episode, it was Anthe's brother walks out into the arena, looks up at the castle and chuckles, and then there was that other guy sitting on top of the...
Yeah.
And that's the prince, right?
Who, comes down sometimes and, goes inside.
So, in episode 14, we get introduced to Mamiya, Soji, and the Mikage Seminar, or the Circle of the Black Rose. There's a bunch of shit to learn. Oh, also 100 people died.
Yeah.
100 people died, and they were all duelists.
Mm.
To be fair, I didn't enjoy these three as not nearly as much as I did before because I didn't like the first one because it was a clip show and we didn't learn enough to make it interesting. And then the next two felt like we learned way too much in single episodes. Like, all right, introduce us to these first couple of characters and tell us about the backstory of these 100 duelists that had been buried alive for reasons we don't know, and tell us more about that. And then in the next episode, show the Black Rose. Blah blah blah.
I think it's fine.
I didn't like it. I felt like it was cramming too much in.
I had a grand time with it. I was like, this just escalated another 10 knots up, and I didn't realize there were 10 more knots up.
As long as it pays off.
Yeah, as long as it pays off.
A lot.
Yeah, true.
The whole thing with the Black Rose, that I feel like is an anime trope, where you have an object that you put into good people that makes them bad. It's even in Digimon, the whole first arc in Digimon is that Devilmon is sending these black gears into good Digimon to make them evil and rampage.
Right.
I'm sure that it's in other ones, but the first thing...
It's just Digimon.
The thing that's...
Digimon and Utena. Yeah. That's the only two.
So that's a kind of trope.
Like contrast.
Yeah, I guess. Well, it's the whole concept of, deep down, everybody sucks. Point is that Soji's character is really interesting because he talks a lot about how they're about to get the attention of the end of the world, or end of the world, and which means that he knows what end of the world is, whereas at this point the only people who have known about it are the people who have spoken directly to them. So that's interesting.
He also says that when they enter the room with all the bodies, the morgue room, he says this is the room through which you can contact end of the world or something. I'm sure that we'll find all that out, hopefully very soon. Mamiya, he and or she, do you reckon that he's also related to Utena? I'm not Utena, sorry, Anthe?
Yeah,
it has to be. They've got the same skin tone. They've got the... that was a question. Is Anthe meant to be Hindu? Is that meant to be a bindi?
No, I don't think it's a bindi because bindi is...
red. Bindis are usually coloured, usually red.
Yeah.
And the boys don't usually have them, but Akio and Mamiya has. Mamiya.
I don't think it's makeup. I think it's just...
It's not a freckle or something, though. I wondered if it was just a freckle, like a beauty spot or something. But then her brother and this other new guy has it as well. So it's something that's tying them together, and I wondered if it was like a real world thing. Well, but anyway,
because bindis, they are a sign that women in Hindu culture use to celebrate and I'm going to articulate this badly because this was a while ago that I read this. It's to like promote the longevity of their husband. So it would make sense for Anthe to wear a bindi.
Yeah.
But not for these other two characters.
Yeah, which is why...
And I don't think that they're bindis, like you say, because they're supposed to be coloured.
Yeah, as far as I remember from religious studies at high school, bindis are one like from engagement through your married life.
Yeah.
And then if you're ever a widow, you're not allowed to wear them anymore. So like you say, it's to do with the longevity. So it makes sense that only the women use them. But it's just too much of a coincidence that they all have it. So this new guy, Mamiya...
And also the same colour hair, and also the same colour skin.
Same colour skin, similar hairstyle to Anthe, and a girl's voice. So it was like, okay, this is interesting. There's definitely a connection.
What if it is Anthe?
That was my first thought. That was my first thought when I saw it.
But then they were like, we have to kill Anthe.
Yeah, and then I'm like, okay, I don't know what... Maybe Anthe is a concept. It's all going to be Curtis's thing.
No,
Anthe is just a part in a play. It's just a role that they all fill.
We've never seen...
in a game.
Mamiya...
and Anthe in the same room.
In the same room.
In the 2 episodes.
And so Mamiya's all like, we gotta kill this Anthe bitch. And Soji's like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I mean, we can kill her. And then so, they'll get whoever to beat Utena in a fight. And then Anthe will be like, she's dead. Don't worry about it. I'm the Rose Groom. And I'm definitely a man.
Definitely a man. Yeah, Anthe/Mamiya, the person playing both of them, is just sick of playing both now. And they've just come up with a reason to kill off one of the characters so they can live the rest of their life as Mamiya. Body furnace under the school. That's just a symbol, or is that literal? Is there like an actual furnace?
I
think that's the flames of hell. I think they've gone down so far that it's
True.
hellfire.
The elevator starts off going slow, like bing, next floor. Bing, next floor, and then it starts falling at a tremendous pace, like so fast that the elevator is shaking. That has to be symbolic.
And the voice at the same time is going, go deeper,
Yeah.
As they're talking.
Like, they're recessing into like their subconscious and like the darkest desires.
So it's all very symbolic. There's a fuck ton of
butterfly
symbology.
Yeah. So that's the same with the butterfly.
Yeah.
They're like,
because you could maybe think of it as like butterflies. They're really pretty, and like it's like people's putting on it like, oh, look at how good I am, and when you talk to me, but then really they're just an egg on a leaf. Or like,
that old expression. They're all tough, but they're actually an egg on a leaf.
But it's being able to admit. I don't. I can't. Okay, I don't actually know.
They throw a lot. They throw a lot at us. Like, yeah, I've got no idea.
I just would have liked 14 to have been split into 2 episodes and give us this new information, new characters, all this new stuff in one episode, and then start the duels again on episode 15.
I don't know.
Episode 15, talking about symbols and what they mean and metaphors. What was with Kozue trying to grab water a couple of times, do you reckon? She's sitting by the water's edge as her girlfriends come over and say, oh, we hear you've got a new boyfriend. And she's putting her hand into the water and lifting it up and making a fist. And she's like trying... Is it like the what's it called? Like the uselessness of trying to do something that you could like hold water?
Yeah.
She's trying to hold on to it. And she's also trying to hold on to
it's like,
her brother who's slipping away.
But also she's pushing her brother. Like when she's falling down into the morgue basement with all the 100 dead boys... she says the whole reason that she's dating guys... She's purposefully dating guys that she knows that Mickey will disapprove of in order to make him jealous, but it's gotten to a point where it's backfired.
Yeah.
And now he's like, ugh, here we go again with this shit, and he doesn't care anymore. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean... See, I know that you said you didn't enjoy these episodes, but that's why I enjoyed these episodes, because they're just so thick. Oh my god, it's like thick with 2 C's, these 2 episodes. So much metaphor, so much simile. What is even this life? Especially, there was a lot of extra insinuated incest, because even Anthe's brother and his bride-to-be, they just made them brother and sister.
Yeah. So I'm your adopted brother, and we're going to be getting married, and I'm going to be fucking my biological sister at the same time.
There's just a lot going on.
I like that they show the prospective Rose, whoever... we need to come up with names for these things. The Black Rose Challenger.
Yeah.
they show them getting them into a manipulated state where they're really pissed off, and then right as she's like the most emotionally ripe towards Mickey, they pluck the black rose at that point.
Yeah.
And then you see her, the next time you see her, she's wearing the black rose.
Yeah.
So much metaphor.
And, oh man, so we learned that everybody has a sword in their heart, you just gotta find the right person to yank it out. The reason that Anthe is the best person for the Rose Bride, or maybe it's because she's the Rose Bride, is because just whoever she's engaged
she's
to...
giving it up to anyone.
Exactly, she's giving it up to anybody. But you have to be really close to somebody to rip out their sword, heart sword. Which is just like... I reckon that Nanami and Toga both are going to pull each other's sword hearts out. Not at the same time necessarily, but like...
But that would be cool.
Odd to fight, yeah.
Does it just come with practice that you can stay awake after your sword heart's been ripped out? Because Mickey goes into a comatose state until the sword disappears again.
Don't know.
But Anthe just like stays at the sidelines and watches the whole time.
Don't know.
Is it her actual heart that they're fighting with?
Well, okay, so when Soji is talking about these swords, he says, we need a sword hard enough to defeat Utena, and then they go into like how you get a heart sword. That's not how... A harder sword doesn't win a fight, but that's an interesting concept to think about, that they're like made of the same material as well. I don't know what the hell is happening, but I'm loving every bit of it.
And what? How do people who have a grudge to bear know to go and get an interview with that super genius guy? Because Mickey's sister, so whatever her name is, she turns up after she's gone by Mickey and says, "Hey, I've got an interview." Is there like a poster up on the bathroom wall that's like, "If you hate Anthe, call this number"?
It might not be that they are going willingly to do this thing. It might be that because he works for the school newspaper or the school yearbook or something, he's involved in printing for some reason.
Okay.
So he could be requesting them to come for an interview.
He's got like professors that throw favors to him as well, so maybe he's just got power. Maybe that was just showing as like power and connections in the school.
I interpreted it as he is inviting them. They aren't showing up because they want to.
So he's just keeping an ear out around the school for anyone who hates Anthe.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Ooh, she hates Anthe."
Oh well, Mickey said that he turned down the group, right? So he turned down going down and becoming one of these Black Rose fighters. So obviously there's a call out for come and join my seminars, because he does lectures, I think, right?
I don't know.
Soji.
We don't know what the Mikage seminar is, because he says it's like the group is called the Mikage seminar.
I think that's just like the face of like come in for an interview, see if you can join our seminar.
Right.
And then you.
Oh, do you think
Mickey turns them down? But the others went in for the interview.
That's interesting to think that Mickey turned them down. He's like, I'm not actually that bothered by anything. I love it.
Yeah, Mickey might know more, because he turned them down for because he didn't feel like intelligent enough.
Yeah.
Or like inferior to them. But maybe he knows more about what's going on there.
No idea.
And do you reckon it's just the two of them in that circle of the Black Rose? Is it just not Anthe and Bobcat?
Not sure.
Was there anything we can read into the milkshakes?
I honestly think it was
Remember
just
the butterfly segment? When the butterflies are drinking the milkshakes?
Yeah. What's with the butterflies and the milkshakes?
I don't know about the butterflies, but the milkshakes are just... Mickey and Kazue used to drink milkshakes as children, and there's like a scene where he's like, "You want a milkshake?" And she's like, "Fuck you, I don't drink anything that sweet." And he's like, "Okay." Just drinks it by himself. It's just another metaphor or just a symbol in place of like something that they used to have together that isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
And butterflies are a symbol of beauty, and so it's like something beautiful that they used to share together.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't buy that.
Do you guys have any predictions? Oh, first of all, follow-up, confirmation, the principal is the bad guy. Because the acting principal is the bad guy. I win. I knew it.
We don't know that yet. It's not the end scene.
When was that confirmed?
Anthe's brother is the acting principal. Chairman. Same difference.
Acting chairman.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, "Oh, you're the prince? Fuck you." And the princess gives him a look. He's like, "Don't look at me like that." So, prediction confirmed.
No, it's not the end scene, as Drury would say. I have some predictions. I predict that we'll see at least a dozen more Black Rose people step up to challenge Utena, and they'll all lose. I'm thinking that maybe the mean girls who keep slapping Anthe, they might be challengers because they have grudge to bear against her, obviously.
Next episode is definitely jury, though.
We've got some new characters that we haven't met. They'll be like the sister-in-law.
Yeah.
She was introduced in the same episode that she became a challenger. So we'll see some new characters that we haven't met. We'll also see some that we have, but we're running out of those now, so it'll be jury. So we're going to get jury's... So will it be jury or will it be jury's old flame? That
True,
girl?
jury's old... What?
She has
no idea. Okay, yeah, jury will be involved.
Yeah. I predict that we'll learn what Anthe and Akio are actually doing, and it won't be sexual.
Won't it be?
No.
Predictions, Curtis. Take us on a journey.
Take us on a journey. Some sort of paranoia as to the intentions of other people. You've either from Utena or Anthe. No idea. It's so much. It is a lot. Yeah. I've got no idea. It's introduced a whole lot. I'm really interested to find out who the 100 duelists are, because
all of your red strings were pointing one direction, and they've thrown this extra clue in, and it goes right in the middle on top of a bunch of pins that you have on your corkboard.
Yeah.
It doesn't work anymore.
No.
I predict that in the third arc, Ocean is going to fight the teachers. Teachers are going to be like...
You're so obsessed with the teachers.
He's really into the teacher thing.
But listen, we know that one of them tried to fuck Mickey, and
the teachers are too old. They'll only have like little segments. This is a show about 14-year-olds.
Children.
Yeah.
I'm drawing strings here, guys. Clutching at straws, rather.
Okay.
Straws that go into milkshakes.
Milkshake. Oh my god. It was the butterflies all along. No, I think that Mickey, Anthe's brother... Oh, okay, so that was something that I wanted to say while you were saying the description and forgot about. You said... Okay, so Anthe says to Utena, thanks for not telling my brother that I'm the Rose Bride.
Yeah.
I reckon that's a red herring. I reckon that he does know, and that she knows that her... Anthe knows. She knows he knows, and he knows she knows he knows.
and she wants Utena to not know that she knows that he knows.
Yes.
And so she pretends that she doesn't know that he knows.
If you followed that, you're on the same wavelength as me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Prediction's over. Favorite bit or bits?
For me, it was Mickey stumbling over trying to ask Anthe out. It was just really cute, and he was psyching himself up at the door. He's like, you can just ask her if she wants to play music with you, and that's all. It doesn't have to be a big thing. And he's like getting ready to knock, and then Utena walks up behind him, and he's like, oh, what? No, I was just passing by. Oh, no.
Smooth.
Yeah.
I liked the new student council introduction with Nanami, because Nanami's taken over. So I like how they kind of kept it the same, but obviously it's changed now that she's in charge.
I like her slick yellow uniform.
Yeah, cool.
It's not my favourite bit, but it's a good uniform.
I like when she is taking the thing and she goes, any objections? And she turns to jury, and there's like a fan in the background that's oscillating, and it oscillates over as well. Any objections?
Right.
No. Any objections? No.
My favourite bit was when Kane, that's Himemiya's brother, or Anthe's brother's
fiance,
adopted sister fiance, is going down the elevator for the first time, because she had a much longer scene than Kazue had, and it really went deep, and she got really distressed in a way that Kazue didn't, and I liked it a lot. It also made Anthe seem very creepy. She was like, I fucking hate how she just smiles at everything all the time, and she has no regard for human emotion. It was a good scene.
No one's lent her my scarf, and she used it to wipe her glasses.
And I said, don't use it to wipe your glasses, and she was like, okay.
Actually, yeah, Anthe is really strange. She's really quiet and doesn't say a lot, and she seems innocent on the front because she's just in the greenhouse watering plants and things like that.
Your prediction is that Anthe is end of the world the whole time.
Jeez.
That's exactly what you're saying. That's exactly what you're saying.
And I think with that, we should move into a Weeb in review. this week, I have watched Mobile Suit Gundam II, Soldiers of Sorrow. And I didn't really like it. And so I wanted to talk about it because... So, I've kind of been saying... This is a confession. I've been saying that I'm a mecha fan. But I haven't been walking the walk. I've only seen like 3 mecha shows.
But you're a fan of those.
But I'm a fan of those. I really like the concept of the completely impractical driving around in a robot that's shaped like a human. Like, why wouldn't you just drive a tank? Like, why would the robot need to hold a gun? Why not just build a gun into its arms? Aesthetically, it's just, I like it. It's silly, and I like it.
There's some precedent in real life, but I'll get back to
that. Okay. So, I was like, I need to start walking the walk, and what better place to start than Gundam? And every single forum I went to, or, reputable source that I could find said you have to start with Gundam, the first Gundam wing, Mobile Suit Gundam, which is the fans called Gundam 079, because it came out in 1979,
right? And
also it starts in Universal Century 79,
right?
Which is like the time scale that they start with. Yeah. The time scale in Gundam is that when humans moved into space, instead of building space colonies, they just reset the calendar in the same way that we have AD, BC, we now have UC, Universal Calendar.
Okay, cool.
So, it came out in the 70s, and it's just very slow. So the movies, I've already mentioned this, but I'll bring it up again. The first 3 movies are a compact, compressed version of the original run of the 39-episode TV show. And apparently, the movies are the place to start. You shouldn't watch the TV show, from what I understand. It makes it a lot faster, and it makes it easier to digest, and they've made the animation better in some of the scenes. It's just still so slow. There's so much... It's really dense, but really slow, if that makes sense. Like, there's a lot of stuff. They introduce the concept that there are people called new types, which are supposed to be the next step in human evolution. And essentially, they have not the sixth sense in the Shyamalan sense, but they have heightened intuition and better reactions because they can kind of just... They automatically know what's about to happen next. They have kind of like a precognition, but only a few seconds into the future. So there's this really dense story, and also just like a very serious war story happening where they really don't shy away from showing civilian casualties in war, and neither side seems to be particularly evil, although one side is definitely shown as to be the evil side. But
well, what do you mean? That seems counterintuitive.
Okay, hang on. You get perspective. Okay, so it doesn't actually. So the main character is Omaru. He's the pilot of Gundam, but you also see the perspective of other people within the Earth Alliance, and also the Zabi forces, which are the separatists, kind of independent movement.
Right.
So the main conflict is Earth has created all of these space colonies because Earth was so overpopulated, and it's insinuated that the people who got to stay on Earth were the really rich people, and the people who were shipped further away from Earth were poorer. And of course, there's the whole thing of like even America saw independence because they were so far away from Britain. Now, some of the further out space colonies are seeking independence from Earth, and so they've started a war over it.
Right.
And that's what the movies are following, the course of the war. And the main cast are a group of civilians that now have to pilot the state-of-the-art military ship because all the soldiers died before it could launch.
And so you're saying that it's set up to be that the colonies, the colonies are the bad guys.
So not all of the colonies are on the Zabi side. Some of them are still...
but the separatists are the bad guys.
The bad guys. But you get to see a lot of the separatists...
So you can empathise with them.
Yeah, I mean, they're still dictators, but at the same time, I can kind of... I understand where they're coming from, if that makes sense. I can empathise with them.
I'm just going to take that out of context. They're still dictators, but I can empathise.
Okay, so... It's... Oh, god damn it.
This the title of the episode, Joel empathises with dictators.
There we go. Fuck me. So the Earth Alliance is set up like a democracy, and... It's okay. So the way that I understand the Zabi family, because the Zabi family are the ones who are ruling the separatist movement. is essentially this one guy was like, this is fucked. We're not getting any of the benefits of being a part of the Earth Alliance. We're too far out. Can we just be our own thing? And Earth was like, fuck you! And so they were like, no, I'm fighting for our rights. We have a right to this stuff. And because other people also felt disenfranchised, they started following him. But it's kind of become that his family is treated more like a noble line. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it started with a guy who was a politician and had pure intentions, but now they've kind of elevated his family into this regal status that maybe now they're the bad guys.
Right, yeah.
I can empathize where they're coming from, though, if that makes sense.
Is it sort of like a really obvious analogy to the American War of Independence, or not?
I don't think it is. It's not super obvious, because it's not like the red coats versus the brown coats, right? It's just... I'm trying to frame the reference myself.
Yeah.
Speaking of articulation. Anyways, the reason that I don't like it, it's just really slow. The movies are like 2 hours long, and it feels like nothing happens.
Right.
So much of it is them talking about, you know, this is a lot of exposition, and I understand this is really dense. I mean, this kind of information is getting trickle fed to you, because if it was just people talk, and it is pretty natural, you know, they don't have people going, oh, me, I'm the Zabi Prince, I do this. They try and introduce it as naturally as possible. So I guess what I'm saying is I can actually appreciate what is happening, but the presentation has so much that can be improved upon, and I feel like if it was remade today, it would be a lot better. It's really interesting to see, you know, this is kind of like them laying the groundworks for a 40-year franchise that they didn't know. Because that's the other thing. Sorry, getting excited. They got cancelled after 39 episodes. They had to be like, well, shit, this isn't popular, no one's watching it, cancelled. And then after, like, posthumously, it got popular, so they made the movies and started a second season. So it was almost not even picked up again. There's a lot of stuff going on, and it's hard to imagine it being any slower. I'm also struggling with the animation quality. Some of the art is really beautiful, some of the still shots, but some of the art's real shit. Some of it's just real slow, and not much is actually happening in the fights. Also, I'm watching a dub because I don't know why I picked a dub, but the dubbing is just so horrendously bad. It wasn't dubbed in 1970 because it's got like Steve Blum in it, who became active in the 90s. He's Spike from Cowboy Bebop and a bunch of other stuff. He's the best guy. He's an antagonist. I like him, but fuck, man. Like, somebody dies and they're like, oh no. And they're like, what happened recently? There was, they're getting into a fight because this guy died, and it's like, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. Fuck you. And somebody comes in and goes, he wouldn't want you to fight. You're doing dishonor to his name. And just the delivery of that is almost exactly, you know what I mean? There's no emotion in what they're saying. They're just reading off the page, and it's fucked, and I hate it.
Yeah.
What was it? So the 39 episodes, that was the first ever.
Yeah, that is Mobile Suit Gundam.
And that was in 1970 something?
It ran from 1979 to 1981.
But then the movie
came out in 1981.
And they intended that movie to just be the standalone.
No. So posthumously, after the show ended and got cancelled, it became popular. So they made the movies to catch people up for the second season.
So they started the first movie knowing that they were going to do several movies.
Yeah.
And the movies were, what, 3, 4?
There's 3 movies.
3 movies. So they intended them to be a trilogy.
Yeah.
And they intended all 3 movies to be 39 episodes.
Yes.
Right. And so is that why the second one's so shitty? Because like the middle section of the TV series might just be all exposition, setting up the third arc.
True.
And so the third movie is going to be
the payoff for everything.
It's going to be the third arc of the story.
I never thought about it like that.
It's not a good way to do it, because even in things that are designed to be trilogies, like Lord of the Rings, they're intended to be, well, like we say to each other, we're like, keep in mind that this could be the first episode that anybody listens to.
Yeah.
You do the same with a trilogy series. You design the Two Towers to be, what if nobody's seen Fellowship of the Ring? You watch the Two Towers, you still enjoy the film somewhat.
Yeah.
And so they should have done the same with Gundam, but it doesn't sound like they have.
Well, this is a good kicking off point for the larger discussion that I wanted to have about... I mean, I've said that I've started reading One Piece, which is like 900 chapters long, and I'm wanting to get into Gundam because it's so prolific, but it's so hard to get into a series that's like 40 years old, where you have to start at the beginning.
Right, yeah.
Because that's everybody says, if you want to start, you have to start here, because the events that happen in this movie trilogy like they are the catalyst for everything else that happens, and they constantly reference this war that's happening in these 3 movies. It's no matter where you start, they're going to be like, oh yeah, that one guy Omaru from those movies, he was important, wasn't he? he was the one who piloted that Gundam, and now I've got the unicorn one, which is much better. But because even there was, like I said, they've done a prequel movie to these 3 movies, which came out like in the 2000s. Doesn't matter. I was like, oh, maybe I should start with the prequel movie because it will be leading me into those movies, and it's got better animation quality. And people are like, no. You won't understand. Like, people are talking.
How are they referencing things that happened in the future?
Yeah, they're like almost all of it is foreshadowing, and you like the movie has got like a real tragic tone, but you won't understand that unless you know what's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? Right. It's like you're supposed to watch it with kind of this sixth sense of like, oh fuck, they don't know what's coming.
Yeah, I can't. Like, I obviously watched the original Star Wars trilogy before watching the prequels, so I don't know what it would be like for somebody who didn't know anything about what happens with Anakin Skywalker to watch episode 1 and not know what Anakin becomes. I don't know.
I don't know either.
But yeah, I can imagine somebody saying, "Oh yeah, if you're gonna watch Star Wars, watch them in the order they came out," sort of thing.
Yeah, it's real tough because I am still super interested. It's just I'm having such a rough old time with this movie.
You've just watched the second one?
I've just watched the second one.
So I reckon if you give it the third one, and because that should wrap it all up, and if the third one has no action and no interest and gets to the end, then maybe that's
just the thing is that I know that it does. I know that it gets there eventually, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe I've been lying to myself, and what I really like is super robot shows, and I don't like real robots. I don't want to see people. I just want to see big robots fight each other. I don't know. So yeah, I just wanted to have a whinge about having to start a series that's 40 years old and not really understanding it. Although, I mean, it took me 60 chapters to get into One Piece.
Right.
But that was like less of a commitment because I was reading it like a couple of minutes here or there.
How far would you have to go to get into it?
Like, from what I hear, the 7 hours that you spend watching these 3 movies, like, some people really like them. Not shitting on... If you really like these 3 movies, I can totally see why you would like them. But that's 7 hours just to lay the groundwork.
Yeah, right.
And then you have to, like, if you were going to watch them in order, there are a lot. There's, like, 15 series that have come out, plus movies, which is a lot of episodes to watch. And people say, you know, it gets better. There are some series that aren't as good as others. But it just feels like a lot of groundwork to lay for me to get into something. And it's much more of a commitment than just reading a couple pages here and there of One Piece and dawdling through it. Like, I think when we talked about it, I don't know how many weeks ago, I was like, I've read 60 chapters. I've only read 110 now, and it's been weeks later, because I was trying to, like, really figure out what the fuck was going on with One Piece.
Yeah.
I'm dawdling through it, but I'm having a grand old time with One Piece now. Like, I totally see it. I'm like, yeah, buddy.
That's alright, because it won't go on forever, and the longer you take it... the guy will live forever. And he'll just keep going at the same rate.
But I would love to hear about anybody else's experience with trying to get into something that's been going on for ages. I know Robert said that he started with the beginning of Star Trek, which is an anime, but...
Yeah, but like, I understand the drive to be like, alright, this is huge, I don't know where to begin, and if I do have to start at the start, it's going to take me forever.
Yeah.
And I've got the sort of personality where I do have to start at the start. And so I watched the entirety of the original series of Star Trek, and I was like, and it was a real trudge by the end of it, because it's not good.
Wow.
There are a lot of episodes that not great.
There's some standout episodes?
Yeah, there's some real standout episodes. It was really iconic for the time, but it's a real mark of the time. The original series has got a lot of misogyny and chauvinism in it, because it was a product of its time, I guess. And although it was sort of revolutionary and sort of... forward thinking in terms of like race and stuff, they were a little heavy handed at times. There was one episode where there's there's 2 races that are fighting each other because one of them is the entire left side of their body is like bright white, and the entire right side is black, and the other one is the same but reversed, and they go into war over the fact that you're left and you're the wrong way around colours, and it's really heavy-handed about the racism that they're trying to get across. So it's really progressive with things like that, and then it's really just backwards and ancient in the way that they talk about females running starships and stuff. But I trudged through it in order to lay the groundwork, as Joel says, to lay the groundwork for then understanding later series. And now I'm up to like season 3 of the Next Gen, So I've still got a long way to go because I've still got all the other things as well. But yeah, it's...
No, sorry.
Yeah, it can be a real pain in the butt to have such a huge thing that you want to get into, and people tend to have their own opinions about where you should start and which ones are important to watch.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Doctor Who? Have you watched any of Doctor Who?
I've tried getting into Doctor Who, and this really surprised me because I've got a couple of like litmus tests. A couple of friends of mine, a guy in New Zealand and a guy in a girl in the UK, and they've recommended things to me throughout the years, and I've fallen in love with it. Like they recommended Arrested Development and just several other things, Firefly. And so generally when they like something and they tell me about it, I love it. And they're both huge Doctor Who fans, and they've both recommended it, and I was like, sweet, I'll get into Doctor Who eventually, even though it's massive. There's so much of it.
Yeah.
And so I've watched some of the older ones, I've watched some of the new ones, and I just can't get into it. I don't know what it is. But
do you know what my hot take on Doctor Who is?
Yeah.
It's a big old fake. Fuck Doctor Who. Doctor Who can eat my shorts.
Fair enough. Time travel.
Yeah. Not a fan.
Makes sense.
Fair enough.
Makes sense. Or maybe you are, in the same way that you thought you were a fan of mech.
No.
I thought you're not a fan of
No. I gave Doctor Who an honest go. I was watching it when David Tennant was the Doctor, and I watched like him turn into Matt Smith.
Yeah.
I was watching it casually. I wasn't like, yeah, Doctor Who, but I was like, and then maybe it was during the Matt Smith thing. There's this thing where all of Doctor Who's villains trap Doctor Who in a box, and then they lock it from the outside, and he's locked inside this box, and it's a time box because you got to put time in the front of things. And because he's locked in the box, he's locked like outside of time, so he never existed, and so his companion forgets who he was. But then he wears a fez for some reason, and she keeps seeing this fez pop up, and she's like, I feel like I know that fez. And then during her wedding, she remembers the TARDIS, and then like that unlocks the box and lets him out. And then he proceeds to go back in time and like give her clues about who he is. So Doctor Who was locked in a box,
yeah.
And the only way that he could get out was by getting out of the box.
Yep.
Fuck Doctor Who to death. Not a fan.
Good call. Yeah.
But Mecha.
Yeah. So
I was saying that there is precedent for making robots look like people rather than just putting things in them.
Yeah.
There's sort of reason you'll have seen the companies that are making actual walking robots, or technically speaking, I think you'd call them androids if they look like people, and robots if they're not. They don't. But they're making the robots that look like people, and they've got that big backpack on, and they're walking around on like humanoid legs and stuff. And it's shown that a few people, quite a significant number of people, trust a robot that looks like a person more than they do.
Yeah, but it's
a robot that doesn't.
It's not a robot though, because you're piloting it. That's why it's called a mech and not a robot.
Yeah, but like you can imagine that we are in current day. We are at a stage where the robotic uprising is coming, and in the terms of like robots will be taking more and more jobs, automation will be taking more and more jobs, and if people trust robots that look like people more than they do other robots that don't, because they can see where its brain should be, sort of thing.
Sure.
Then you can sort of extrapolate that into the future until we get to the point where we've got mech suits.
Yeah.
And that trend has just continued where people trust the soldiers that pilot bots that look like people rather than anything else, maybe.
I was watching videos of these android robots this week, and they were really cute and dancing, and I was like, I totally had that effect on me. I was like, these things look cool, I want one. Sick, bring that in my house.
So much easier to project emotions onto something that looks human.
In saying that, there's a study done on like people's relationship with their Roombas. People will give their Roombas a holiday because they feel like it's been working so hard. They'll clean up so that the Roomba doesn't have to.
That's awesome.
And the Roombas are just like a disc. They look nothing. They don't look humanoid at all. But because it moves with like some kind of level of autonomy, people think that it's alive and that it has like a will, but it doesn't. Yeah. So doesn't even need to look like a person.
People just project onto anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Last two thoughts on the thing before we move on to something else. First thing being, I do worry that, because there's this whole theory that like people put more value on something that they've put more work into, even though that might not be the case. Like, because I've spent all this time working on getting into One Piece and extensively Gundam, it might not be worth it. I might just be like, yeah, no, I mean, I spent ages on this thing and it's real good, but it might not be. I'm worried about that, but that's fine.
So you're equating the hard work with
value. It's like, yeah, I've spent all the time. It's definitely worth it, but it might not be.
Yeah.
And I've forgotten the second thing. So I've done a couple other things this week, but they're not in a place where I feel like I have enough to talk about them, if that makes sense.
Right, yeah.
So, Robert, what have you done this week?
Oh, nothing at all. Except watch all of Attack on Titan.
Fucking hell.
I'd watched 4 episodes before last week. And since then I've watched 40 episodes because it just really got its hooks into me. I keep equating it to a sort of a cross between Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, and Lost. Both in sort of tone, in the amount of mysteries that they put in to keep you hooked, and also in the amount that they don't seem to hold back on killing off main characters, which is really... it's another way to keep you hooked because there's a sense of real dread and danger to it. I've watched so much, and it's such a dense show that I have so much to talk about that I think we should do this as a separate thing.
Yeah. I also, because season 3 just came out, and as I mentioned last week, I've been watching it I just rewatched everything with my girlfriend, and I now have a buddy to talk about the show with. So Robert and I are going to do just something separate where we talk about Attack on Titan. We figure out where that goes in the future.
We don't want to spoil it for Curtis. This is definitely the show that you should watch without spoilers if possible. If it's something that you intend to ever watch it without spoilers.
Yeah. Anything else that you've done this week?
No, that's taken up everything. Utena and this has taken up any leisure time for watching anime.
Well, we did do a big talk about Utena, so this can be shorter this week. And if you don't mind, I have a show to recommend.
Okay.
Can I just recommend a show real quick?
Just real quick.
Alright, let's do it. This week, I am recommending a show that all 3 of us have seen.
Oh, cool. So
we've been dancing around it the whole damn time, and it's about goddamn time that I recommend Tengatop and Gurren Lagann.
Oh, okay.
This is a show that has a very special place in my heart. It's the first show that I showed to Robert for some reason. Oh, that's why. It's because I based a D&D character on Kamina. He's departed from Kamina since I've been playing him, but that was where the main inspiration came from. I don't know how Curtis got into it, but Curtis was like, yeah, I've seen that show.
I think it was on Netflix.
Yeah, it was on Netflix. So Tengatop and Gurren Lagann is a mecha series about Simone, Kamina, and Yoko, and the other band of people that they travel around with, as they find a robot mecha suit underground, because they're all living underground, and they don't think that there's any sky. And then another huge robot falls in through the ceiling, and they get exposed to this whole huge outside world where beastmen come hunting for humans who try and leave the underground in gigantic mechs. And the show takes every single possible extreme that you could think of, and then doubles it, and then triples it, and then infinities it.
Yeah.
So it's a story about friendship, it's a story about leadership, it's a story about mecha shows. It takes it to the point where the show ends and then continues, because it's like, what would happen after a mecha show finished? And it kind of explores the consequences in the second half of the show about, like, so now that they've won, what the fuck happens next? And it explores that, and I love that. Although a lot of people don't like the second half, I really enjoy it. A fantastic cast of characters, awesome character design, fucking awesome animation. I really, really like the show. There's a lot that I could say about it. It wasn't a good first show for Robert to start with. Or maybe it was, but he didn't maybe appreciate it in the ways that I do. And I don't really think I need to say anything else. It's just a big super robot show where robots get bigger and bigger and bigger, but there's more to it than that. that's what it is on the surface, but you only have to look a little bit deeper to see that there's actually like a lot of substance to it, in my opinion.
There's some fan service in there.
Oh yeah, but fan service is in nearly everything.
Yeah.
And if you don't have an eye for it, if you haven't learned how to be a connoisseur of fan service, it can be quite jarring, I guess.
Yeah, it was my first thing, and she's got big bouncing boobs in his face all the time.
And I was just like, yeah.
That's what
and Robert was like, this guy's a pervert, because I think we'd known each other for maybe a couple months.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun one.
I'm doing a real quick review, a recommendation, and if it sounds like it would interest you, maybe you should check it out. And with that, I think it's time to move into our next segment, Fake Views. Fake Views is a quick segment where I bring in some anime that are real and or fake, and I get Robert and Curtis to guess it in an attempt to, get them more familiar with what anime is and the kind of tropes that you'll be seeing. Being able to sniff, like, is that an anime show? Is that just made in, like, America? Gross. So the way that this works is I explain the synopsis of the show, they guess if it's real, if it's right they get points, and the points don't matter. You guys ready for the first show?
I am.
Hobbies are often a great way of meeting people. But how could the main character who collects rare juice cans ever suspect that he'd be meeting a fascinating new girl when he attempted to drink her? Naming her Melon because she's got great melons soda. The main character quickly learns that she's a beautiful girl who is... it names it, but I'm going to move past it. She's a beautiful girl who's also a special can created to fight other special girls who are cans in a strange experiment to determine what kind of container is better, steel or aluminum.
Nonsense. No way. Not a chance.
So it's a magical girl show. It's a magical girl harem show where soda cans who are also girls fight each other, and some of them are aluminum and some of them are steel. I'll let you figure out which ones are bad guys.
I like the sound of it, but anime goes to weird places and pretty far out. But I feel like that's just one step too far out, even for anime. So,
nah, it's false.
Yeah, false.
Both fucking stupid. It's called Akikan.
Oh my god.
Fuck.
Came out in 2012 and has a 6.32 rating on My Anime List.
How are they not at the end of anime by now? How is that not the last pitch? When they go, we've done everything else. This is all we've got.
We keep digging, sir, and the hole just keeps going. We're gonna need more letters.
There must be more.
So yeah, Akikan, add that to your list. I know that it's on mine. I'm definitely gonna at least watch the first episode. Alright. Next anime. When the main character came of age, he set off to look for his father, who had left him at a very young age. With nothing but determination, he must learn to fight in this harsh world, but quickly realizes that there are people who need his help much more. Along the way, he recruits other misfits in his quest to make the world a better place, and also find his father.
Almost. This is the
Sounds
other...
like every anime.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah. It might be too vague. It might be too vague of a thing, but I didn't want to put any spoilers in. Can I? Maybe it's a high fantasy setting.
Okay.
So there's like magic and stuff.
Hero's journey. This is almost the opposite of the last one, where it's like this is too mundane for an anime.
I'm trying to think of what else to add in that won't give also the listeners at home, won't give it away to them.
So summarize it again. So the guy goes out on a journey.
He's going out on a journey to find his father, and also to make the world a better place. He's recruiting people as he goes along to help him in his quest.
This is our D&D game.
Yeah, I was thinking when he said his father, I was like, wait a minute. Finding his father.
I'm on to you, Joe.
Yeah, he's got it.
I didn't want you guys to work together. I thought that I could catch one of you out.
Yeah.
That's our D&D game.
That's a D&D game.
Yeah. That's my main character.
If you like the sound of that, let us know. We'll turn it into an actual play.
There'd be way too much context missing. Well, fuck, got caught out that time. I was really hoping that I could catch one of you out.
I don't know how I had to hear that a second time.
I know, right?
Like,
it
was so obvious. Yeah.
It's Lagan. Yeah. So I was like, it's high fantasy, but then I was like, as soon as I start listing like other characters, it's all over naming places or anything. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Final anime for the round. You guys are tied again. Tied consistently. What if nations were people? What traits would they have? What would this mean for historical events? This anime takes these questions and runs with them, personifying countries and into characters. The show takes a comedic light and approach to politics and historical events while educating the viewer.
Man, that would be a really cool show to watch.
Yeah, I mean, if that's not an anime...
Yeah. That would actually work.
Post this in the mail.
Yeah, this would be like a real good high school drama where you've got like all this tensions and shit. And that's a fantastic way of educating kids on the history of the world as well.
For sure.
That's really good. I have seen skits of this on YouTube and stuff though, like people playing Risk but dressed up as actual countries.
Yeah, I've seen
stuff like that. So I'm gonna say that you have seen one of those skits and you've used that as inspiration, and it's false.
I'm
gonna say it's real.
It's real!
Ah, damn it!
Hetalia Axis Powers.
But also good.
We've got a 7.66 rating on my anime list. And I haven't seen it, but it looks very good. So, episodes are really short. It's 52 episodes, but episodes are only about 5 minutes. Blast through that. That's fucking nothing.
Yeah.
And it takes place during the events of World War 1 and 2, so maybe some spicy meatballs happen. I don't know. I wonder if Germany is just Hitler.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, let us know if you knew all of those ones, especially if you knew that was our D&D campaign, because that would be weird. And with that, let's move into We Noticed You. We Noticed You is a segment where we read any listener email that we think we should read, because sometimes we get stuff from Regis, who is a guy who doesn't like the show, who we're not going to read every time. But whether you're a friend or a foe, write in and let us know what you think, whether you like it, whether you don't like it, and we'll have a conversation with you and form a parasocial relationship.
We have a very lovely listener at the moment for this season, Martina, or Sneaky Storm. I'm not going to read out all of the things that we've talked about, because it's well over 2,000 words at this stage, and increasing. So if you want to hear this back and forth that we've been doing, you can find us on our YouTube page, our YouTube channel. There's a lot of deep insight that Martina has for us, and it's wonderful to hear from you. I hope you've had a great week. Hope that we're the highlight of your week again.
No, it was very nice to hear that somebody who we don't know is enjoying the show.
Yeah, it's really enjoyable for us to know that we're making somebody's day. So yeah, keep that insight coming. You've got some fantastic views, and makes us think a lot about it as well.
It does make me happy that we record a week ahead, because she did say some things that I'm glad I got to experience without spoilers.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this isn't going to matter, because you can keep saying whatever you want, because we're always going to be a week ahead of you, no matter what you do. So don't worry about it.
Just don't spoil anything more than 3 episodes in advance.
Perfect.
And you'll be good.
You'll be golden. But if you want to get in touch in the same way, you can do so on Reddit. We have a Reddit. You can do so on YouTube. We're on YouTube. You can find us on every single social media that possibly exists, including Bebo and MySpace. Somebody's going to really angry write in. I didn't find you on Google+. But we're on social media is the point. You can email us directly at kyfcayac@gmail.com. That's kifkayak@gmail.com. And the best way of getting other people to listen is by letting other people know about the show. We're still growing, and tell you what, here's a little secret. We are 2 people away from having 69 likes on Facebook, which is very nice.
Nice.
And we want to try and maintain that level of 69 people, so if you come in after that, wait until you think that they'll hit 96, and then after that, wait until you think it's going to hit 420, because those are all the really nice numbers.
If you see that it's already on 69 people liking the page, just go around and find like almost 400 other people and be like, everybody like the page all at once.
Because it's going to go 69, 96, 420, 666.
What about 169? Because then there's just a voyeur.
I like that.
In the room.
I like that. It's a new sex position. 169. So, if you want to hear what we have to say next week about episodes 16, 17, and 18 of Revolutionary Girl Utena, among other things, I guess we'll see you there. But until then, I have been your anime therapist, Joel. I have been your anime psychiatrist, Robert.
I've been your anime analyst, Curtis. Until next week, missing truth and forever, kissing love, and true your heart.